of all, uh, I I started, I think I've had my PMP. I was just trying to remember. I think I've had it for about 10 or 11 years. And I first started out, I was working in technical project management. Then I moved on to technical program management, which was a lot of the same work, but a little bit higher level, and a broader scope, more projects that I was managing. And then I moved into cloud engineering management. And I've been in this position for about 4 years now. That's where I've worked closely with Sufyan. Sufyan actually was my boss not that long ago. So he was really the one in charge, even though I maybe vocally tried to be. Um, anyway, so I would say just a few things about getting your PMP that stand out for me. I think that as far as the exam itself or having the certification itself, I found that, and Samir, I don't know if you'll agree with these things or you'll have different perspectives. So this is just my perspective, but I found that I think that it works the best if you have the experience with it. And I also found from an exam perspective that it was the questions in the exam. I needed to really answer those from what I learned in the book, which wasn't always necessarily how I would have answered it from my direct experience. So that was kind of one key thing about, taking the exam and then the actual experience. There's some difference there. Um, I did find that I think what's important about having your certification is that for a lot of companies or um, they really value the PMP certification. And it does seem to also ebb and flow. Like sometimes it seems like there's more value put on it than other times. And I believe that that's driven from whatever contracts may be out there. So a lot of companies will have contracts that they're trying to win or bids that they're trying to win for their company, and it may be a requirement in that contract that the people that are working on it have a PMP certification. So there's a lot of value in it from that perspective, and it definitely can give you a leg up if you're I'm sorry, one second. I'm sorry about that little disruption in here in the office. Um, So, so that really can give you, if there's a lot of different applicants for the job and you have your PMP, it gives you a leg up to possibly get an interview. I do think too, I don't know that I believe like going through the education of, getting ready for the exam necessarily. I don't think it's going to teach you everything you need to know for project management. It will definitely help, like as you're working in project management, to give you some guidance on how to think about things, how to work. It can also give you some structure on ways to measure and guide your own work so that you're doing it in a more organized way. Um, let's see here, some other notes. Um, I would say that the most value I think is probably, hands-on experience with the exam itself. Um, but like I said, you can start working on that early, and you can also part of the exam, or excuse me, to get the certification, you take the exam, but you also have to log a certain number of project management experience hours. And so one thing, I started tracking those hours before I had a project manager title. And so when I was working in a position and I was doing project management work, I could log those hours even though I wasn't actually, even though my title wasn't project manager. So I think that's a really good way to kind of get a jump start. Like if you like, I knew that I wanted to go into project management, and so I was tracking those hours ahead of time, so that it wouldn't take as much time when I got in the role. Luckily, I was able to get into a project management position before I had completed the certification, and it really helped to speed that up. And it was also really helpful to be logging those hours and thinking about the project management work that I was doing. That helped prepare me for job interviews when I wanted to be a project manager, because I was looking at how you log the hours, which areas it was in, and then that gave me talking points during those interviews to try to get that project management position before I did have my certification. So, those are just some ways that I did it in order to kind of speed up getting that PMP certification, was really taking advantage of the work that I was doing that was project management work before I was actually a project manager. I think those are kind of my highlight. What else can anything else that I can talk about, Sufyan? Maybe Samir, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, like, is there a minimum requirement of experience to get into this project management certification? So, for example, I have just completed my graduation, and after completing graduation, what people or candidates do, they either do some kind of a professional certification. So, for example, cloud computing or AWS, right? Is it feasible for me to directly jump into PMP without having any experience whatsoever?
I think um, if you read everything and do the studying, probably, especially if you're a good test taker. I would say one thing about the test that I think is hard is that a lot of it's kind of what's the best answer. Now, I took the exam, it's been 10 or 11 years since I took it, so I don't know if it's changed a lot. But it was one of those tests where it was like, it's not like a math problem where there's one right answer, right? And so that made it a little bit harder, because it would give you a scenario and then an answer, and you were like, when you're looking at the answers, it could possibly be two different ones, and you have to pick the best answer. And the best answer lines up with what is in the book, and it may not necessarily be exactly how you'd work. And so I found that was the hardest part of the exam for me. As I went through it, I wasn't totally sure if it wasn't like, oh, I knew that or I didn't know it. It was more like, I'm not sure if I picked the best answer. Did you find that as well, Samir? I don't.
Yeah, I think I would like to add my point of view here. So certainly if you want to do the certification right off the bat, like coming from a graduation perspective, I think PMP might not be your best bet, given that it requires a lot of experience, because as Leah rightly pointed out, the questions or the exam is not about knowing what the right answer is. It is about the right application of a certain, let's say there is a framework about managing risk in a project. And the question puts you in a situation, in a real life situation, and says, hey, this is what is happening in this project. How would you approach it? And it's not a right answer like yes or no. It's about how do you evaluate those options, all of the options that you have on the table, and apply the best one that gives you the best result. So that is where the tricky part with PMP is. Most of the people, when we see the PMP, it feels like, okay, it is another exam. Like I just prepare and I will know the answers to apply to the questions. I will know what is right, what is wrong. It is not that way. It is like all the four options could be right. It depends on your judgment whether which one gives you the best result. And as Leah said, the PMP provides the best framework for every domain of project management, and you have to apply the best input to that scenario, so that based on previous experiences that PMP have gathered and put into framework, gives you the best result. So that is how you have to align both your experience and the standard framework that PMP suggested that you approach with. to get the answers correct. So I think that is the tricky part. It is very tricky than what I said. So yeah, experience definitely matters a lot.
Yep. So obviously the bookish study that we do plus the experience is required, not like any other certification where if you do the technical studies, that should be good enough. But yeah, I remember like it was 2006 or 7 when I started learning for PMP, but I couldn't get through. Whenever I used to read that whatever PM Bok or the book from Rita Mulcahy,
PMBOK, yeah.
right? Yeah, PMBOK,
Mm-hmm.
right? Oh my goodness, I couldn't understand because at that time I didn't have that management experience and it was all like conceptual for me because I have not lived management at that time. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and Leah, Tony Scumberg from our team, the new member,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
in my recent visit to Minnesota, he said like he had taken lectures directly from Rita Mulcahy, and she like the main PMBOK or the main guru of
Okay.
PMP. She's no more, but that's what like she like he hinted. So that was great.
Huh. Yeah.
Yep. Any
They
other
they
question?
do.
Yeah. Please go.
I was just going to add, I think that they have, I believe that they have some like student uh, certifications that you can get. Isn't that right, Samir? I didn't look this up, but I think that there are some more entry level exams too. Like if people think they might be interested in it, but
Yeah,
are
I think there are certifications that provide some entry level opportunities, but I believe they wouldn't like create a differentiator on the resume per se,
yeah,
because most of the entry level jobs they are not actually looking for certification. I mean, I'm talking about the PMP. I'm not like project management. I'm not talking about like maybe cloud engineering.
right.
If you get the entry level certification, that is a big plus on your resume. But with project management, experience more adds the differentiation, and on top of it, having PMP certifies that you know the standard framework of PMP. With
Mm-hmm.
I mean, given adding onto your experience as well. So I think there are certification. I think associate project management certification it helps, especially if you're like kind of changing your track from a different role to project management. That kind of that CAPM, I think CAPM certified associate in
Yes.
project,
Mm-hmm.
it provides
Mm-hmm.
the bridge for you to shift from your previous role to the project management role. However, I think coming out of the graduation or like someone who is like very early in the career, it might not create much differentiation. It is my perspective. I could be wrong. I mean, it is just my perspective to add here. Yeah.
Yep.
But definitely there are certain things. And also if somebody is looking for, I mean, this is one point I wanted to cover. I think I realized when I was applying for PMP certifications, obviously there is a lot, like it is a big process for the application itself. You have to add details about your experience managing projects. And so that like when they review your application, they will approve whether that experience aligns with their expectations and qualification for taking the PMP or not. And there is a very nuanced approach to it. Most of the people who had worked in a role which is aligns with more or less like project management or like maybe a business analyst, like it has an overlap with project management in certain aspects.
Mm-hmm.
I have observed that they provide a nuance to it. Like if you are not directly in this role, working in a role like junior project manager or a business analyst, even if you are working as an engineer, if you are exposed to the project management profession enough, or like if you have contributed to a higher level of project management to that role, you can detail that experience out in your application and tell them though I didn't work in a specific role for project manager, I did contribute to the project which like for so and so role, and like I contributed to the risk management, and how did you manage the risk from your point of view. You can put that in, and I think it is a very justifiable if you actually worked on a project, not as a project manager, but even as an engineer who might have had some overlap with managing certain aspects of project management. You could justify your eligibility for taking the PMP.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed to whatever you said. I mean, like we all agree that PMP certification is kind of a globally recognized certification, right? Which will definitely boost your career by enhancing your PMP or project management skills. I would also say that it might increase your job opportunities. It will often lead
Mm-hmm.
to higher salaries and all that good stuff. And moreover, it will give you the structured approach to managing projects or building whatever credibility. See, if if a manager without PMP managing the team or the project is not as good as a PMP managing a project or a team, right? So obviously there are benefits to it, and for folks who are looking for it, I think you should definitely pursue it and gain all the benefit that it brings.
Yes,
Yep.
and these are proven frameworks. These are not some. I mean, you could do. I mean, if you have a project, you can always approach with your own point of view, with your own method, with your own process. But we never know that whether that method or process will result in a positive outcome of the project. The frameworks, the methods, the processes that PMP suggests or documents in this exam, they are proven across the world to bear better results for project management and to minimize the risk. So that is why PMP is most sought after certification for project manager roles. Even today in this current job market as well, if you have a PMP, you will get a job for sure. I mean, obviously you have to showcase your projects and the experience, but PMP definitely creates the differentiator in the market for folks who are looking for job in this role. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, like any questions from the audience? Because I mean, it's 1 a.m. for Leah, and I would like her to, I mean, like sign off early so that she can have a soundless sleep. We will have Samir for another 30 minutes or so, but all right. I think Leah, I mean, like
Okay.
up to you, whatever time you want
I'll
to. Yep.
yeah, I will drop off and head to bed if there's no immediate questions for me, but you can always contact me or reach out. And I'd be happy to help at another time too. So thanks for inviting me, Sufyan.
Yep.
Appreciate
Yep.
it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for your time. Take care.
Thank
thanks
you
all.
for your time.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. All right, Samir. Samir, you have a question from Hussein who says like, is PMP related to a particular field or it can be done for by anyone? And there is another question by Adil who says like, I was thinking to buy project management course by Google in Coursera. Is it worth to buy as a mechanical student? Or you can
Sure.
start with your PPT that you have prepared, Samir. Up to you.
I think 30 minutes. I think we'll go through the questions and I will cover it, the points from the PPT. If
Yeah.
I feel like should be highlighted. So I think going by I mean, with the first question, is PMP related to any particular field? No, it's a universal standard and framework for applying project management uh, to get the objectives of a certain initiative. So initiative is basically like it could be anything. You want to build something, a dam, you have to have a project management skills. If you want to build some apartment, you should have it. If you want to build a let's say an engineering a car, like you should have a project management to know what to be done, what should not be done, how do you manage risk, everything. It is universal. It is cross domain, cross industry, and everything. However, like if you the nuances here is to know which methodology of project management is applied for which scenario. So let's say, for example, waterfall could be applied to more scope restricted, right? Like if let's say the scope of a certain initiative, like you want to build a dam, the certain what you want to do with it, right? The dimensions, the investment, the requirement, like who will be using the dam, how will it be put into put into use uh, for achieving the goal and everything, right? Like there the approach will be different. However, when we come to a more software side, the approach could be different. It is more agile because the requirements, the scope keeps changing almost every day. So the methodology that you use to apply the project management can differ from, as you in your question, field to field. However, the PMP is universal. Okay, the second question I think is a good point. We can take it. I think I wouldn't suggest buying because there are a lot of free courses out there that could give you the project management knowledge that you're looking for. Maybe not buying it, I would suggest right now. Since you're acting as a student, you are still a student, so I don't think I wouldn't recommend for you to buy it. I would recommend you to go for any free courses that are available. Especially in Udemy could be a great option because it offers you the low cost. And I think the value that you get out of is much more higher than Coursera. I think Coursera is much more costlier side. Yeah, I think I covered just now because in web development projects, the scope keeps changing, and you have to make sure that the stakeholders who are involved in the project are aware of those changes and make sure that the end goal that you want to reach to doesn't get impacted because of those changes. So it is all um, part and parcel of the profession that that keeps changing, and you have to make sure that you apply your project management skills. So there is a domain with change management, there is a domain with risk management, there is a domain with scope management, stakeholder management that the PMP covers, and the frameworks it provides. How do you approach? For example, the question that you asked about quality standards. So I think it comes under scope management. The scope covers like how much of a quality, like let's say you are building a website that you want to have at least 99.9% of uptime. That's a quality standard you don't want to compromise on, right? So with the changes in scope and changes in maybe the resources that you have to make sure that the quality is still met because you have set the 99.9% uptime as your quality standard. So there are frameworks that could be applied from PMP to ensure that we meet those standards. Yeah. Should I keep going on, Sufyan, from the questions or like?
Yes, please. I mean, like there are few more questions. I think three.
Yeah, okay. I think I have to be honest here. I do not exactly recollect if it was a grade or percentage. It So it defines, there are three domains. I mean, within the exam, there are again three different domains. Like one deals with the people, one deals with the processes, and one deals with business environment. Basically, people section deals with how do you showcase your leadership, how do you manage conflicts, because we are all humans. There could be conflicts happening because of difference in uh, perspective, difference in approaches. One might feel like their solution might be good, the other might have a different opinion about it. So there is that people aspect in the project management that gets the priority in the exam, which covers, I think, almost how 42% about it. Questions come from the people domain. And then there is a process which deals with the life cycles of project, the scope, the scheduling, and the risks and change. So this is about the process itself, and it covers more than half of the exam questions. And there is one more topic about business environment. So business environment is like, how do you, so in an organization, if you think about it, right, in an organization, the organization have a certain goals to reach. Let's say they want to increase their revenue by 10%. And they initiated a project to build an e-commerce platform to increase their sales. And they're expecting that by having this e-commerce platform, they believe that it aligns with their overall objective of getting 10% increase in revenue. So the business environment aspect of the project management deals with how your project aligns with your overall organizational objective and how changes in your organization will be impacted or like positively or negatively impacts your project. So you have to make sure that your goals and objectives of the projects are properly aligned with your organization, and at the same time the changes that are happening are also properly managed so that your project comes out as a success, aligned with your organization. So that is an aspect of project management exam, but it covers very minimal questions. So I think around 8% of questions come from business environment topic. So I think these three are the main topics or domains, you could say, in the exam. One is the people, the other one is the process, and the other one is the business environment that come in your exam. Not self-study, yes, but I think it should be coming from an authorized training partner. So PMP is PMI, the organization or the institute that provides the PMP certification. It is very particular about where you get your training done. So it offers options. However, you should have the training done specifically by ATP authorized partners. So self, yes, but however, to prove that you, for eligibility, I think you should have it from ATP authorized partners, because they give you a certification which shows that you have done training of so and so hours, which aligns with the requirement of the PMP exam. So that is how you prove that your training or education is aligned with the requirement or eligibility for the exam. That's a good question. Again, I think with so many certifications out there, PMI, ACP, Scrum Master, Prince 2, how do you justify PMP as the best investment today? It is more subjective. However, I think there is a simple way. I think if you go to the job listings and just search with the keyword PMP, and you can see how many jobs are coming up with PMP, and you can search for Prince 2 and see how many jobs are coming up for Prince 2. I mean, that is more like, I think, a short answer to it. But if you see, PMI ACP is more latest because of the changing project management methodology, specifically for software side or IT industry side. I think Scrum Master is also aligned with the same Agile Certified Project Manager, or Scrum Master. It is almost relative because Scrum Master comes under the Agile. It is a subset of Agile practices. And Prince 2, I'm not very well exposed to it, but I know it is one of the project management methodology which is picking up. But I think PMP would give you a best investment from my point of view, because it has more requirement for it, because people are not very much aware of Prince 2 as much as about PMP, even from the job perspective. And I think Leah correctly pointed out, like, if when in the industry, when a client puts out a project requirement, I think one of the key I think requirement to that is having certified professionals handling or joining the project for the client. And PMP is one of the most sought after. So I think in that way, I could say that will be the best investment today compared to the other ones. PMI, ACP, and Scrum Master, yes, but I think PMP is like more of an umbrella term for and covers ACP as well. But if you want to specialize in Agile, I think PMI, ACP is more suggested or recommended. I think, okay. Currently working into the human clinical trial management. I'm not sure. I do not want to suggest something that I might not be very much versed with. So if it is, I think the basic premise you can think about is whether the human clinical trial management has an end goal that you want to achieve, and to get there, is it a one-man thing, or is it like it involves people, and people, when you have people involved, you have to have processes involved. So I think PMP might be helpful, but I cannot confidently say that whether it helps you or not. But I think if you think about the premise of having to deal with multiple people, and you have to deal with multiple objectives to reach the end goal, I think PMP will help you to have an understanding. I think there are 180 questions, and you will get almost like 230 minutes. I think I just noted it down for this meeting. So it takes almost 3 hours, more than 3 hours, 3 hours, 50 minutes or so. So you would have ample time, and you have enough questions to use that time to apply. The most important, I'm sure you're covering in to apply. Okay, the fee. That's a very important one. Okay. The fee is high, definitely. Let me bring that up. I think when I applied, it was around, when you're applying it for the first time, I think it asks you around close to 50,000 or so, if I'm not wrong, 40 to 50, but I can bring that up very quickly. Just a tip over there that if you take the membership for PMI, then the cost for applying for the exam will come down a bit, but it is almost the same. So if it is like 50,000 for taking the exam without membership of PMI, with PMI membership, I think it comes down to 40-ish around. So I think you will save some amount. At the same time, you will have access to all the training that you would need and all the training that will become eligible for taking the exam. So I think the benefit that you can take with some money saved as well. Exact cost, if you want me to pull it up, I think I can bring that up. But I remember from my time that when I took it, it was around 50,000, close to 50,000, if I'm not wrong. I'm sorry, I'm not able to keep up with the questions. So you or anyone can tell how to get PMP certificate as spoon feed, like part two, achieve graduation leadership. Okay, I think the question is not like it's not that straightforward. I think if you if I have to answer your question for the fifth question, I think keep it simple. You have a certain eligibility criteria that you have to achieve, and then once you have the eligibility criteria, you have to apply, and then once you apply, you have to book the slot. Once you book the slot, you appear for the exam and you clear it. But there are nuances that you cannot just simplify that way. So I'm sorry, I'm not able to answer that question, but it is what it is with the PMP. So it's not that straightforward. Okay, I think this is a good question. PM Box 6th edition, PM Box 7th edition. So PMI itself is changing a lot and adapting to the changing market dynamics. So as you all know, I think agile approach when it got introduced, it was a huge change, and PMI had to adopt the principles, the methods, the processes, the frameworks that it was promoting before the introduction of agile. When agile came into picture, they have to make sure that they do not become irrelevant in the market, because what they were suggesting before was based on like predominantly based on waterfall. Waterfall is like you do first step, second step, third step, fourth step, fifth step, you're done. But when agile came into picture, it was more iterative, because once you start with 1, 2, 3, there is always a chance that you have to go back to 1 with the changes that are introduced. So that way, PM Box 6 and PM Box 7th differs, because it keeps adopting any industry changing event happens. I think AI with like prevalent use of AI right now, PMI I think is still looking for ways to improve and make sure that the principles or frameworks that it suggests stays relevant and stays a golden standard for the market. So I think that is how the editions change. I cannot specify for the 6th and 7th edition, but I can see that is how the editions come out. Like whenever they wrote a new edition of PM Bob, it means that they have enough reasons to make sure whatever frameworks and methodologies they're suggesting, it needs a revision to be relevant in the market. Okay, I think I can suggest one. This is from my personal experience and what I have used. The best I cannot say it is the best, but it was really useful for me. There is a course on Udemy. Any PMP course, and it was really good. Like he was an authorized training partner for PMP, and his course was the most viewed and highly rated in Udemy as well. So his name is Andrew Ramdayal, I think. Andrew.
Yeah, if you have that link, you can share it with me so I can share with this audiences. That's fine. If you have it handy, you can share it now as well.
Yeah, he has a lot of courses, but I'm just checking which one will be helpful for first time users. So Ram Dayal. I think this one should be good. I mean, I'm just sharing the one that I got, but I think if you search for PMP by Ram Dayal, like Andrew Ram Dayal in Udemy, it is affordable. I think it hardly comes around 400 or something. And it's like the top course that you can use. I cannot say it is the best out there, but for me, it was really helpful. And you always have this a mock exam at the end that asks, that kind of suggests what kind of questions that could come up in the actual exam. So you also get to experience those questions and get an like a feel of how it would be in the real exam. Can you type in the chat? Okay, I think I'll just say Andrew Ramday
The
also.
one that you shared, is it the
So you
one
can use
Samir you're referring to?
that is the one, yes. And he has many courses as well. I think that's why I typed
Name.
the
Okay.
trainer's name as well. So you can
Okay.
find
But
them.
it's saying 3,179. I thought like these courses were around
No,
400,
this is
500 rupees.
I think no, it is 459 only. Like it's a marketing trick. Like they're saying 3179 slash and then they'll give you the 459.
Oh, okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. All right. Yeah, I think you have answered like couple of questions with sharing the link. That is good. I think you have few more to answer. The construction project, I think you already answered, but if you can repeat, that would be great.
Yes, so construction project is more for, I mean, this is where it differs, right? CMP helps you in the construction project as well. I think it's a clear difference that will be pointed out when you're preparing for PMP exam. In PMP, there are different methodologies. Not every project is the same. Um, a a construction project is not the same as a software project. A software project is not the same as building a car, or or a software project is not the same as sending a rocket into the space, right? For if you see the differences between software project and a construction project, constructions, once you start, it is not that easy to scrap everything and rebuild, right? It is a lot of cost. It requires a lot of time and a lot of investment as well. So when you start with a construction project, you have a clear goal that is very less prone to change. Like you start with the goal of building a 30-floor building, and you know what amenities you want to provide, and you know how much square feet that each flat might take, and you know how many square feet you have to provide for the common area. Then you start with the building, right? It is very like unusual to change once you start. Like you want to start with the 30 floor and you don't want to change it with the 60 floor, right? You might change with you want to go with one more floor, 30 to 31st. Like I'm just giving an example. I didn't work in construction project management, but I'm just saying that you might want to change one floor, but you won't change the entire layout of the building. You won't change the entire floor plan of the flats, right? It is very unusual. I haven't heard, like, maybe you could, if you have been working in construction project management, maybe you can it is very unusual to do that. So the methodology that PMP suggests to use in such projects where the scope change is very minimal is to go with waterfall methodology. So it does cover the construction project as well, is what I'm trying to say. With most changes, the methodology differs. So PMP offers a different methodology where the scope can change very often, and it is expected to change. So it is within the DNA of the project that it is expected to change. I can give you an example. Let's say if you started with the e-commerce project and you feel like you want to build an e-commerce project to address all the web users, and all of a sudden you know that you start the project, you are 1 month into the project, and all of a sudden the client will know, or like the sponsor of the project will come to know that most of the users are mobile. So now the change of scope is to include the aspect of adapting the entire layout of your website to fit into the mobile screen. So that is a change. It keeps happening because the digital world is super fast with like super how do I say this? Like the best way is change is within the DNA of digital world. Like it keeps happening and you have to adapt to it to stay relevant in the market and to keep the edge in the market. So that is why very often you see, like the example I can give, let's say for example, Blinkit, Zepto, and Swiggy, Instamart. Any change that you observe Swiggy's Instamart, you are expected to see that change come very soon with Blinkit and Zomato as well. So the change here is keeping up with the market, because once you are not up to the market standard with the new features or new abilities of the app, you become irrelevant, and then your competition will keep up with the user traffic, and then you'll the business. So that's why in digital world they try to make sure that all the changes that they introduce into the website are always up to the market standards, so that they don't lose out to the competition. So the change is more incorporated within the project management itself for software side. But I cannot say the same applies to construction, or I cannot say the same applies to even building a rocket and sending it to space, right? You cannot keep changing the rocket dimension, cannot keep changing the rocket engineering design itself, right? So it is not that easy. You have to set out with a clear goal, and you have to make sure that you reach that goal. So PMP covers both aspects. Okay. So I think this question, since it is coming from an experienced person, I think you understand that project management gives you a stage and gives you a baseline of how you can approach and deal with complex projects at very high stakes. But once you start in the project, the personalities you deal with in the project are not the same as a different project. So you have to keep changing. You have to keep you have to take the knowledge that these knowledge areas and processes and frameworks that PMP provides, and you have to make sure that you adapt them to your whatever the new project that you're working on and with the personalities that you're dealing. And I can say from my experience, like in project management, right, like the frameworks and all apply, but at the same time, it is the responsibility of the project manager to make sure that he adapts or tailors those frameworks to the need of the project itself and the personalities that are there in that project, because not everyone aligns, not everyone understands, not everyone at the same time, not everyone rejects whatever you propose. There could be like this, they help you with it, sometimes they differ with it. So you have to make sure that you adapt and improve on whatever you have learned from PMP. I think that is the question. I hope I answered your question. So if you're already project manager, you know that you're not dealing with the same personalities in different projects. So you have to make sure that you adapt those principles that you learned to the need of that project and fit it. I think I think this, maybe I'm not sure Sufyan may be right person to answer this. PMP certification, yes, for project management. And I think the question is about what can be the best fit for leadership post. I think leadership is yeah, project management help you with it, but I think leadership is much more broader term to just fit into PMP.
Yeah, I would suggest like if you are looking for a leadership role, better to pursue your MBA. So that's one thing. Another thing is like there are lots of courses available online from prestigious universities like Harvard. I remember like there is a Harvard Adaptive Leadership course. There is something called a Comprehensive Leadership Program by University of Illinois. There are many other leadership for aspiring CEOs, mindful leadership course, and those kind of things, right? So if you Google around, you'll find the different. I think one of the short and practical leadership course that is available in Udemy is Become a Better Boss, right? I think it's from Chris Croft. So you try to look for those.
Yeah, I think leadership, project management also covers leadership. But I think leadership is more a broader term, and it requires some kind of a personal approach as well to it. Like you understand the basic fundamentals of leadership, but every leader brings his own flavor to it. So yes, I think yeah, project management covers some aspects, but I think if you're looking for like not exactly a project management leadership per se, but if you're looking for leadership, I think as Sufyan suggested, you should go for a different course that gives you knowledge that is required to transition into that, but might not actually deal with project leadership.
Yep. Another question we have is like, does PMP help with product management too? So, as Samir and Leah have been mentioning that PMP certification is more focused on project management fundamentals. I think there are some few that I was googling around. It has scope, time, cost, quality, and stakeholder management, right? So these are the things that PMP covers. Uh, it builds some leadership skills, but it's not tailored to product management. For product management, you have to pursue a different course depending on what you are looking for. So, for example, if you're looking for something which is related to agile environment, then go for PMI ACP. If you're looking for agile focus, I think Scrum Master is also like agile focus, right? So, and so on, right? So I'm just trying to
Yeah.
give a context here.
Yeah, I think I can expand a bit on that. I can give you a real life example maybe. So if you see in my current like program that I'm working on, so program is nothing but a more higher term than project. So within a program, you have multiple projects to deal with. So I'm currently working as a technical program manager. And in our setup, we have a program manager, we have an engineering manager, we have a product manager. So the responsibility of a product manager is to understand and evaluate the product and see what the customers need and make sure that our product adapts to the needs of the customer and improves. So the product manager's role is more nuanced to focus on the users of the product and making sure the product itself improves, but not with not dealing with how we get there. So now engineering manager's role is to make sure that the technical aspect of building that, let's say product manager comes around and sees that our users are not feeling happy with the current way to provide feedback. Like let's the review system. Let's say the review system of our product is not that good, and he says, look, we have to improve because the product manager have done some kind of an analysis, like user analysis. He done some surveys with the users and understood that there is a gap in the product where it collects the feedbacks from the users and make sure that those concerns are addressed, right? So he did his analysis, he did his groundwork to make sure that we have to build this. It is the best next step for our product. Now he hands over this requirement of building a new feature of or new improvement for the feedback system to an engineering manager. So engineering manager's responsibility is to make sure that the technical resources like engineers are available to build that feature and make sure that the engineering solution is also the best that can be built with efficiency, cost, and time that it takes to build that solution into factor. Now comes the program manager. So program manager's role here is to make sure now when they build the system, like the feedback system, it doesn't mean that the system like the whatever technical project that they're building is not confined within the team itself, because whatever they change in the product technically or engineering way, it could impact multiple other teams. It could impact multiple other processes that are involved, because let's say if I'm changing the way that my feedback system is collecting the information, how will it change the user experience? Look, now I have to deal with user experience design team. How will it change um, the promotion of a product when a feedback is received by the product? Let's say you review a product and you say this product is 1 star. Now I have to make sure that the search team. So in engineering we have a search team. So search team deals with specifically how users can search and how results are displayed to the user. So now the search team is impacted because your review system will ultimately impact the way they list the products to the user. So I have to make sure that this cross team collaboration, and at the same time that the delivery of the project is tracked, is planned, is made sure that it doesn't impact the other systems. Even if it impacts, we have to make sure that those teams are also prepared, and we coordinate these dependencies between the teams and manage the risks that come with it. So program managers is more cross team, and project, I think in a way project managers is also more cross team, and make sure that the teams that are involved, we call them all stakeholders, are on top of these changes, are on top of making sure that the goal is reached. So this is how I'm just giving you the highest level how product manager, engineering manager, and program or project manager differs or overlaps in a way. I think any other questions you can.
I think there's a Q&A session also, a section
Yeah, I
where
think.
you have Zed who has asked like, I have 10 years of core networking experience, engineering experience, and now I'm more inclined towards managing the project in the same field if the opportunity arises. Will PMP help me achieve that, or any other course if you can recommend, please? I think it's in the Q&A section. So there is a chat section and a Q&A section. So Q&A.
Okay, okay. I think I can answer that. I think if could you repeat that question? Sorry, Sufyan.
Yeah, yeah. So I will again type it in the question so that at least.
Okay, I can. Yes, I think this is where the transition to PMP is much more easier in a way, because you have the experience, so you know the gaps, the pitfalls in the project, like that would come from from network related project. But now you with PMP you will learn the frameworks and processes that are needed to manage the project, so you can combine both worlds and then have a transition to project management. uh, yes, PMP definitely helps you in this case. And I think having a certification will make it easier for you to have the transition in your case for Zaid, I think. Who should consider PMP in construction? Um, I think the people who manage, uh, there must be someone who supervises the project, right? Like when a construction project starts, there must be someone who supervises from the beginning with, I think, the proposal proposal to build something, and then from proposal to gathering the requirements. I think the construction project, whatever it is, have a requirement. I think whoever is in charge of making sure that proposal, from the proposal stage till the day that you open the building up, he should have the PMP exposure, and it will definitely help him to manage the project better. Again, I'm not very well versed with the construction world, but I think there must definitely be someone who is in charge, to make sure that like right from the proposal, he is the one that deals with the vendors. He was the one that deals with the constructors. He is the one that deals with the, maybe the business executives who sell those construction project. If it is an apartment, I think there must be business executives, development executives, and then maybe the government. I think you have a lot of permits to take. So I think whoever is in charge of all of these is, I think, should have a PMP, or should, in the sense, like, would have a PMP that can benefit him. Portfolio management, I think there are three levels um, to this. So one is the project, and then program and portfolio. How they differ is, let's say project is more, in a simple way to say, project is more confined, uh, or confined in, or in a smaller objective. Let's say, okay, let's take the example of the construction itself. I'm trying to give you the best example. So project is to, let's say, there is a project to build an apartment. Let's say that is the project, and then you have 10 such projects happening, and say that is happening within a community, right? Then you have a program there, because in a way they're dependent to each other, because they're happening within a community, because these are individual projects for each of those buildings. And at the same time, since they're happening within the community, you are going to be a program, because you want to manage the project itself, and the projects itself will manage individual buildings. And then portfolio is when you have multiple such community projects happening. So that is how they differ. And the level of involvement by a portfolio manager and program manager to project manager differs within their scope. So a project manager might not influence the program, or like the other 10 projects that are happening parallel to them. At the same time, a program manager might not be able to influence other such community level constructions happening around. However, the project manager is more in detail. He works very closely within the building that he's in scope of. And then the program manager makes sure that he works with all the 10 projects and make sure they are on track to deliver. And the portfolio manager is more deals with like individual programs and make sure if there is any coordination required between those programs, he is the one to take care of them. So that is like 3 different levels to it, like project, program, and then portfolio.
All right. I think we are at the top of our what you call hour or the end of the session. And thank you for Samir for, I mean, like effectively or efficiently answering all the questions with patience and with whatever passion that you have in teaching. So really appreciate that. And I think this was like the good first session. I don't remember like we have seen this many questions in any of the sessions that we have taken, which speaks to the nature of involvement of our audiences, which is really good. Is there anything else that anyone wants to ask before we wrap this call? Well, thank you everyone for joining the session on a Sunday morning, which was really helpful. And thank you, Samir, so much for taking time and doing this. Really appreciate it.
I think it is my pleasure, Sufyan. It has been a long time since we were both on the same call, and seeing you on the call is also like very
Yep.
nice. And it's kind of nostalgia for me. Yeah, it
Yep.
feels really good.
Thank you. Thank you again. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yep.
Sufyan.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.